A very warm welcome to everyone from IT Next in association with Microsoft. I would like to thank everyone for being so patient with us while we've been sorting out this small technical issue. So let's start. Today's topic is System Center Orchestrator 2012 Enterprise Automation Framework. Today's speaker is Ms. Pracheta Budhwar. Pracheta has been with Microsoft for over 4 years and works in the capacity of technology evangelist. Prior to this role, she worked as a consultant with Global Partner Services at Microsoft. Before Microsoft, Pracheta worked with Fidelity International and HCL, where her core responsibility was to manage their infrastructure, including MS and non-MS platforms. With 9 years of industry experience, Pracheta's latest passion is virtualization. She's a regular speaker at technology events. But on a personal front, Pracheta is an engineer by education and loves to read, design, and travel. And Twitter is the latest productive disruptor, so you can follow her at @Pracheta tab. Now I would like to request Pracheta to take over and start her presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. All right. I think I need to send back latest one. It's a year-old introduction. Any which ways, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. The topic today is to talk about Orchestrator, System Center 2012, what we launched a year ago, and the service pack one has also launched in the month of January. I have got 7 components. I'm sure most of you who are on the call are aware of the different components of System Center, right from Virtual Machine Manager to Operations Manager to Config Manager or DPM. And one very, very important and the newest entry on the blog is Orchestrator. Now, Orchestrator is is a very, very different. It's a just a sec. So it's a very interesting component. The reason being, it is the one that ties all the other infrastructure solutions together in your data center, right? So let me tell you, before we get started, let me tell you where you can reach out, even post this webinar. I am at Twitter, so Pracheta B is my Twitter handle, and I blog regularly, blogs.technet.com/Pracheta, and with that, let's get started to the session objectives and takeaways. So what you would like to take away, or what I would like you to take away from this 1.5 hour of discussion that we are going to indulge in. Very, very strategic, specific, not too many things that I'm going to talk about today, and not too many things that I would expect you to take back. But, as we finish the 1.5 hour of discussion, I would really, really want you to take back what System Center Orchestrator is. So if some of you have not been working on it thus far, it might be a good opportunity to see and figure out what it really means and how it can benefit you in your own data centers, right? So the objective is to tell you that how System Center Orchestrator help you in mitigating a lot of repetitive tasks that you might be doing, a lot of automation and integration, how you can do that in your organization and with your customers. And of course, when we finish off with today's presentation, you should be in a position to understand what it takes to install and deploy System Center Orchestrator, what is the architecture, what exactly it is about technically. It's a very technical discussion that we are going to indulge into. In case some of you are not from technical background, I would say that initial few 10-15 minutes will give you high level understanding. So in case you're not a technical person hands-on, maybe what we demonstrate later on is not in relation, but initial 10-15 minutes will give you an understanding of why Orchestrator is going to be a very key ingredient going forward. So what is Orchestrator? First of all, it's a workflow management solution. Right? So it is a tool which helps you to define your own workflows depending on your infrastructure needs and help you to automate and orchestrate. So what exactly Orchestrator does, it helps you to first of all, orchestrate a lot of things and automate. Now, as automation comes into perspective, of course, what we are looking at is taking your data centers from where it is today to the next level. Lot of repetitive tasks, lot of error messages that you keep on getting on a regular basis. There's no need for some manual intervention to be taken care of. It will help you to increase SLAs to your internal and external customers. It will all, of course, help you to improve operational efficiency. So, couple of things. So it's like a complete life cycle in which Orchestrator will help. Right from provisioning new machines, new users into the system, right from doing something from the very scratch. So in the deployment and provisioning phase, you can automate and lot of menial work, lot of repetitive tasks to have a better turnaround time when you're building a new infrastructure. The second phase to the infrastructure management is operation, and when it comes to operation and ongoing processes, I will show you a lot of examples and scenarios where Orchestrator can help you to minimize the turnaround time, be it a new request, be it a error that needs to be solved, be it making sure that if there are any ongoing problems, can you fix some solution on based on that. Also in reporting, also in giving you a forecast on how things are faring. It is actually going to be the glue in the data center, which will tie that to all the other system center components very, very tightly, and also non-system center and non-MS, like it works on something called as integration packs. I'm going to talk about that in detail, but let's take an example. You've got a SAP deployed as a ERP solution at your place, and you want SAP to be integrated with Orchestrator, or you have got a BMC remedy ticketing tool that needs to be integrated. So there are integration packs for non-Microsoft workloads as well, because we very well understand that your data center is not just Microsoft, right? So it's a mix of MS and non-MS workloads. So Orchestrator is going to be the binding force in your data center, which will help to orchestrate and integrate. So if we look at Orchestrator, as I have clearly mentioned in a couple of slides, if you have seen closely, that it actually helps you to simplify your management, day-to-day management. So it will help in three folds. One is when it comes to investment, when it comes to bringing new things on the table, if you have a tool that can integrate the silos workloads which are happening today, of course you will optimize on whatever you have invested in. So as a IT manager, as a decision maker, if your workloads which are now running very, very aloof to each other can integrate and give you a very, very extended platform, that is what Orchestrator can do for you. So as I said, I took a couple of examples. There could be many more which might make sense in your system, that integrating them to Active Directory, or integrating some workloads to the operations manager for better monitoring, and taking inputs as alert and doing some actions on an automatic basis will help you to ensure that you have a very productive and effective system in place. Of course, it helps in orchestration. So what is orchestration? When you have got multiple automated processes that you want to stitch together, we call it as orchestration, right? So there's not just one job that needs to be done. So let's take an example of a new employee getting onboarded. So when a new employee gets on board, you just not only create his or her user account in AD, you also have to make sure that a mailbox is created, a request goes out to purchasing department, or whosoever gives out laptop or desktop, to make sure that a system is in place for the new employee. A lot of things, right, in an employee onboard process. Today what happens, even if you have systems, you might have 2-3 systems to make these things automated. With Orchestrator, I can actually bring different systems together and tie it in one goal. So as soon as the user onboards, simply given the name, credentials, etc. And wherever it needs to create accounts, ask for permissions, add to the new DLs, provisioning a new machine, all those things will be taken care of together, right? And of course, in automation, where as workflows, one can define that if this happens, please go ahead and do that particular task. So orchestrator is not just, I'm going to take, maybe maximum 10 minutes to build the important concept, and then there's going to be only a demonstration. So there the way it's important because it will help you to understand what it takes and what exactly orchestrator is all about. Just imagine that you have been given a canvas with lot of different colors to paint with. Similarly, orchestrator works. You have got designer, something called as runbook designer in orchestrator, on which you will drag and drop and make your own workflow based on activities. So let me give you an example. If you have got a monitoring mechanism in place, let's say operations manager, SCOM, or some other monitoring tool, what happens when you do monitoring on threshold? You get alerts if there's something wrong. So what happens if I get an alert today? Administrators, right set of administrators get notified, and they work on that particular incident or alert. What if over a period of time as an organization, my team is grown and they know that what it takes to resolve such a problem? There's no need for people to go ahead and do the same task again and again and have maybe a longer duration of time to see the alert in the first place, right? Many a times you get pager alerts or email notification that people might miss because at the end of the day we all are human beings. So what if I write a workflow which is very much written by your technical folks, by your administrators who know the environment better, that if this particular error message comes, I need to take 1, 2, 3 steps and it will resolve. In case those 3 steps do not resolve the problem, then notify me. I'm just taking an example, right? Likewise, there could be so many different ways and means in which one can look at automation as a solution. Of course, as I said, it is just not about. Let me do one thing. Yeah. So it's just not about Microsoft. It is all about your data center, whatever components, whatever systems you might have procured as of now. Orchestrator will go ahead and glue back to all of those as I've just shown, and of course with other system center components. What exactly it takes to build a orchestrator in your environment? So these are the different components. Doesn't mean that there is a requirement to have these many boxes in your system or these many VMs running. No, all of these components can reside in one single virtual machine as well to get started with, right? Why I have bring it to your notice, because then it makes sense to understand what it takes, right? So this is what it takes. This is what it takes when it comes to building an orchestrated environment. Runbooks, so there are different components as you can rightly see, management servers, orchestrated runbook servers, and of course we have got a web console. So web service is the one that connects to the rest of the world and even to non-Microsoft components through REST-based APIs. What happens internally, the crux of all is going to be your database, because it's the database where all the runbooks are going to reside. So once I write the logic, once I use the runbook designer that you see on the rightmost box, a greenish box, that's the component which is like a canvas for me, where I will create my own runbooks, test them, and then runbook servers is where it is going to run. For an extended environment, it makes sense to have multiple servers for doing different jobs, But as I said, it is absolutely all right to get started with putting all the components in one single virtual machine. It works just fine. So so if you have a closer look here, the management server is actually making the link between the designer and the database and the runbook server. So it is always a good idea to look at multiple runbook servers, because that is where the runbook is gonna be running. Okay, so I have a couple of deployment best practices to share. So in a couple of slides, we'll talk about it. On a high level basis, I just wanted to reiterate that these are the different 5 components of a orchestrator architecture. Of course, you can have one single installation, or you can have a distributed infrastructure depending on how much you're going to use, right? So if you have got 50 runbooks running at a single point of time, one runbook server is fine. If you have more than 50, then maybe you should have a couple of runbook servers, right? And maybe allocate a separate machine for it. So what are the different concepts or basics of orchestrator? These are the 4 things that, rather than 2 things that you will be dealing in a day-to-day basis. The first one is activities, which is nothing but tasks that you want to perform, and at the end of that task you want to achieve something. So a set of such activities will create a runbook. These tasks are already available. So once we'll go and look at the demonstration, you will see for yourself. So there are activities defined which you can use to build your own logic, right? So I took an example of an error message. So I will take that particular error message and define that, as one of the activities, that if some error message comes from operations manager, go ahead and restart a service. So how will I say that go ahead and restart a service? I will drag an activity of service restart, or something like that, and define that which service on which server, etc. Of course, right? So runbook is nothing but a workflow that execute a series of such activities, and at the end of the day give you the results that you have been looking for. Of course, to get started with, it's a good idea to create small runbooks, get a hang of it. There is something called as runbook tester available in the console, so you can go, as soon as you create the runbook, always start with the runbook tester, see whether it goes well. If there's a problem, it will also tell you. So I will show you in some time when we get started with scenarios that how it works. Database is nothing but it's the communication channel between different runbooks and activities. So and as we go ahead and work on different activities, they fall under 4 categories. Either you will use an activity to connect to different activities, or you want to execute some command, or you want to communicate, take output from one and take it to the next level. So those standard activities can be categorized as connect, execute, manage, and communicate. No rocket science, very, very simple, I'm sure, so far. So how exactly you go ahead and look at those activities? So there are some standard activities that are already there. Set of any such activities which are similar in nature is called as integration pack. So I took an example of of SAP. I took an example of BMC or HP or IBM. So there are a lot of integration packs that are available. These integration packs are nothing but once you install and bring the integration pack on the table, you will see a certain activities populating in your orchestrator runbook designer, so that going forward when you create a new workflow, you can use those activities as well, right? So if you can look at the a small snapshot that I put here, it tells that integration packs are the specific activities being built together and packaged to make sure that you can perform integration or orchestration with other components as well. So let's take an example of VMware. So if you have got some VMware servers and you want to use automation on some of the activities of VMware, you'll bring a VMware integration pack. Or as I just took example of, let's say you have got a Tivoli, and Tivoli Storage Manager is what you use for storage management, and you want to use Orchestrator for some Orchestrator purposes, you can go ahead and use that, right? So there are few integration packs that are available from Microsoft side. There are a lot of Microsoft and partner provided ones, which means that you might have to go out to the vendor whom we are working with and find out you have the integration pack or not. It's a small, bit that you download and make it available on the Orchestrator. That's all. And of course, you can build your own integration packs. We have got a SDK available in case you have got a home application which you see over a period of time that it makes sense to have Orchestrator talk to that particular application. Go ahead and use the integration toolkit to build a system of your own, right? So, going to spend just a couple of minutes on how you plan the deployment. So for now, you have understand high level that what Orchestrator can do, why you should consider it, and what are the different components through that architecture diagram. So if you want to deploy, of course, there is no one solution to all. You need to figure out what is the requirement of the solution, right? So you want to do it for a testing or environment, or you want to do it for a full-blown, complete big level enterprise. Definitely there's going to be a difference, right? So it's a good idea if you're going to do it in a production environment to have management server. Again, all of these things can run in a virtual machine. To have a SQL clustered, of course, no rocket science there. All the work notebooks, all the logs, all the workflows are going to be residing in SQL. So SQL needs to be in a clustered basis. Of course, you can use existing SQL and make another database there and use it for Orchestrator. Web service is needed if you want to extend the Orchestrator management to the web, as well as it will come into picture when you're going to use third-party integration packs. Runbook server is absolutely dependent on how many simultaneous runbooks you're going to run. So what we suggest is to have one runbook server for running 50 simultaneous runbooks. So if you have got more than 50, consider having one more runbook server. As I said in the very start, that if it is you're going to get started in a testing environment, there is no need to set up 5 different VMs. You can very well have one single VM running all the different components of Orchestrator, right? So that was all about concepts, and we are going to dwell deeper into what Orchestrator looks like and how you use it in different scenarios. And these are, when we went back to our customers after 1 year of system center deployment, to those who have been using it for quite some time, this is what they said, that how Orchestrator has saved them, right? For a private cloud solution, Orchestrator is going to be the building block, right? You cannot have a real private cloud solution till the time somebody is doing automation and orchestration in the backend, and Orchestrator is the backbone of private cloud, absolute requirement. It helps a lot in reducing the manual administrative tasks on the routine work, right? Nobody likes to go ahead and restart service every week. There's no learning, right? So if you are an administrator, you might have learned something when an error has occurred for the first time. Over a period of 5 instances, you must have mastered that what could be the different reasons and moving parts, and you know how to troubleshoot it. But when you do it for the 10th time, there is no learning for it, right? For an administrator. If you look from a management point of view, if you look from a decision maker perspective, it just doesn't make sense for people to go ahead and keep on doing the mundane job day in, day out, and also increasing the time span in which there could be a turnaround time. So those things which are absolutely no, you know, adding nothing to the learning curve of individuals, adding nothing to the organization, why not to have some automation into place and make those things, reduce the time taken by the administrator's kitty and gone into those routine tasks, rather to invest the time and build a run book which will do good for your data center, right? Go ahead and do something new, and work on this. Is always a lot to do in a data center from a management point of view, from a provisioning point of view. Invest time there rather than doing the routine job, which I'm sure nobody enjoys day in, day out. And of course, when it comes to migration blockers, so there's a lot of I'm not going to take names here, but there are a lot of customers who have actually got really benefited in overcoming their migration blocks, which means that, since in migration there's a lot of steps involved, migration cycles are long, right? Usually we see that it takes some 3 months to 6 months of time, depending on the size of the infrastructure and the complexities involved. Generally, migrations are cumbersome processes. So how some set of the migration can be automated and save a lot of time and blockers in the migration process. These are the top 3 things that have come out as we have went back to our customers and asking them how did Orchestrator save them. So few scenarios through which I will talk about working with Orchestrator, and we'll see some demonstration. So I'm gonna get started not with a very Microsoft centric one, but rather a data backup and about log management. This is again from one of our customers. They're using net backup, and when it comes to net backup, everything is working just fine for them. They're happy with the backups, the way backups have been taken, the way restore has got multiple options. But they had one operational challenge, and the operational challenge is that when something goes bad and then they have to read through the logs, it takes a long time. It's a very, very verbatic in nature, and it's just not a very readable format. There's so much of text. So it was taking long for them to read through the logs and figure out where the problem is. And my counterparts, when they were working with this customer, said that Orchestrator can do a wonderful job here. So it's all about knowing what the problem is and then reaching to a solution. So what the problem was? The problem is that the logs are very, very verbatim in nature. So can I actually fetch out or search by some specific error numbers, or maybe simply search by error? Wherever I see error, I will rather write into a more readable format and make it available to the administrators, right? So that was one of the asks. So what we did is we started monitoring the logs, and there was some customer integration pack that was developed, and you can schedule as well as you can do it on an ongoing basis, that when you want to find out those big logs and filter it out and bring it in a more readable format, right? So let us do one thing. Let us actually connect to my system. Let me see if I can. When it comes to Orchestrator, this is how it looks like. This is the runbook designer that I have connected to, and several different ways and means in which I'm going to achieve an end goal, right? So let's take an example here. Net backup, as I was talking to you about. So this is a environment where you're using net backup as a backup tool, and in this net backup environment, there's different runbooks that I have created. If you see it clearly, let me first explain that how it works. all these small blocks that you see are nothing but the runbook activities that I have dragged and dropped from the right hand side activity pane. I can schedule that to run this particular runbook for twice a day. What I want it to read from the list of my net backup servers, delete all the old raw data files, etc., and go ahead and find the text. So in the text, I want to find for errors. So if I go and look at the properties of this particular activity, what I want to look at, I want to find the text, right? I want to search the text for exit status. This is what I want to search the text for. So wherever in this whole big log file it says exit status, and this particular expression, fetch that line for me, right? That's what I'm defining it at each stage. And then I have introduced something called as junction. Junction is nothing but a delay component which helps in accumulating everything and then passing on the expression. So what is happening? If I have got a list of, let's say, 100 servers, I might want to run it for each 100 servers from the list, each of them going through the same find text activity here, and when all hundreds are done, then it pass it on further. And I would like to then write it to a CSV file. I want this particular one to insert a line and write it down to a CSV file. So what is happening actually? Right. So what is happening actually? When it comes to any runbook, it is nothing but a vision in the head of the administrator or whoever is writing it. It is actually architecting that what you want to do at the end of the day, right? If I want to add some, backup clients, I would go ahead and again, run it. So what happens when I want to run something? At the end of this particular example that I was started with, I would rather want to, let's say, run this particular run book. So if I say run it, I always run it in a runbook tester, because in the runbook tester, I can get to know that whether everything has gone right or not. Okay, and I can simply go ahead and say run, but maybe for the benefit of everybody, let me show with something called as step through. So it is also possible when you get started with Orchestrator and when you build your first run book, to start with a step through, right? See whether every step is going fine or not. And if, here, for the first time we will do step by step and see that what happens in the first step. In the first step, it is saying that run the activity twice. Once once it is started, now I want to read all the list of net backup servers. It is actually going ahead and reading all those things. On the left hand side, you can see the details of what is going on in that particular activity. Okay, so I can actually go step by step when I'm starting with, and even when you have to make some changes to the runbook after, let's say, 6 months, and you're not sure that what changes you have made is right or wrong, before committing it to the production environment, there is no need to do that. You can actually run it from here. So you can see that this particular step that I'm doing, it is actually running a command, and I want to run that particular command here, which is nothing but a batch file. Right, and I want it to, assess, append, keep on getting this information from the list of servers, and step by step I'm finishing the task. Right, so each activity has got something that I want to attain and pass it on to the next object. As simple as that. Right, and I also, there's something called as restart service. Why I have something like that? I want to check. So once I'm doing this activity, at the end of it, while I'm finding out errors, I also want to check whether the service is running or not. So again, this is like a safeguard. I can be very, very, person who wants to go and check every time. You might not be. So it's up to you what you define, right? So I wanted to check the net backup service if it is working or not. If it is not working, then I would like to start. So that's how it goes. You go step by step and perform it. And at the end of it, the idea is to send the email to the administrator, because the last activities right now it is checking whether the service is running or not, and if the service is not running, it will restart the service. You can see that activity going on as the last activity, and if it is running good, if it is not running, it will restart, and then the last one. So we are at the last step of this activity is this run book, and last step is the last activity, which is sending email. So I want to send email to my administrator group with a file which has got a readable text, through which they can figure out what is going on, and hence this run book has been executed, right? So I have actually done a step through, so it took some time. If you would have simply run it, it will definitely go quicker, right? So let's go and have a look at, I have got a machine here which is running. So you can see that pardon me, the setup is actually on a US time zone for this particular test box. So you can see 2:43 a.m., which is nothing but 3:13 p.m., which is just now. So what has happened, I have actually created a CSV file, and the CSV file will have a readable format with wherever the error messages have come, right? So it is as simple as that. Just because I wanted an output in form of a CSV file, I have written a simple orchestrator workflow, and this run book a workflow, and this has helped me achieve what I wanted. Of course, I have scheduled it for twice a day. For you, I have run it right now to show a demonstration, but automatically I don't want administrator also to go ahead and run it on a manual basis. If it makes sense, I might run it once in a week, I might run it twice a week, whatever makes sense, right? So that's what it is all about. So if I go back, and I'm sure it might have given you some idea of what run books are all about, and you can see that I have got multiple folders here. This is one of the best practices that I would like to share. Since you get a hang of run books, you will keep on creating many. So it's a good idea to have some logical outline of whether it belongs to this particular department, or whether it's production or development or whatever, and then you can place it. It helps in a longer run. So what happens? On the right hand side, whatever you see here are nothing but activities. So there are some system activities available, there are scheduling activities available, and then you can see that I have got management pack for Twitter as well. I've got management pack for Azure, I've got management pack for Exchange, I've got management pack for a lot of things. So what happens is that, integration pack, pardon me. So we call it integration pack. Management packs are in Operations Manager. So these are the integration packs that are available, and that might make sense in my environment. There might be some others which make sense in your environment. You can simply go ahead and bring them on. So what happens, if you can see, these integration packs are nothing but collection of activities, and when you go ahead, you have to go ahead and create a new run book. All you have to go and do is to go to actions and create a you go ahead and maybe right click and create a new run book, right? So if I say create a new run book, let's say I want to create it on the root. However, it's a good idea to always use it on a in a particular environment. So let's say it's a new run book. Of course, if I want to do something on this particular run book, I can decide what I want to do. So I might want to schedule something. I will say monitor date and time. Again, I'm just going to do some random stuff here. Don't try to make any sense of it, just to give you an idea, right? So if I want to get some SNMP variables at particular set time, and how will I make them talk to each other? I will actually have to uh, bring a connection. So it's very simple. You simply bring your mouse here and say that this guy talk to the next guy and give input to one and take output to the next one. Whatever next logical thing you can think of, you can simply, I don't know, this is some random thing that I'm doing just to give you an idea, right? So it is as simple as that. You must have in your mind what you want to create and get a outcome at the end of the day, and you build your run book step by step. And of course, you will go ahead and do a checkout and run it through run book tester and see that whether it makes sense or not. Okay, so that's how it is. You can also have a log of what all has happened. So if I go back, so let me do one thing. Let me take you back to my deck, and let's talk about the next topic. And we'll come back and have demonstration. So it's gonna be demonstration all the way. Okay, so what we have just seen is one of the examples of net backup, that backup status, whether it is finished or finished neatly or not. Administrator had a lot of problems, so they wanted to get a clean and readable format and being sent out in form of an email rather than going through the log files. So we have seen that. Next, one of the most asked for scenarios where Orchestrator comes very handy is private cloud deployment. So when it comes to private cloud, it's all about making sure that you have a better turnaround time when your application owners ask for a new workload or a VM or a service. It's all about being very, very flexible and upgradable. So when it comes to a particular customer's requirement, they were looking for a very intuitive portal when it comes to integration with existing system center component. That is what they were looking for. So again, I will take one example and we'll see how it works. But what I wanted to showcase is when it comes to private cloud, a lot of things from taking input from a self-service portal and going ahead and pushing for approval if needed. If the approval is taken, go ahead and create a new instance. All those things can be done automatically, seamlessly using Orchestrator. Very, very much possible. Okay, so and just think about the private cloud deployments in your setup, and Orchestrator can be a real boon to make that happen, right? So not only provisioning, also upgradation, right? So let's take an example. You have got a setup which is running in a full-blown virtual environment in a private cloud, and there is some upgradation which is needed. Customer has asked to upgrade the memory of a VM. Let's take an example, basic thing, or some other component. So if I have to make those changes and I have got some input, Orchestrator can stitch the whole end-to-end provisioning and upgradation for me. Okay, so as a technical person, you have to define it once, that where the input comes from, what you need to do with that, and how you want the output to be. Of course, that requires one-time brainstorming and putting it on the runbook. Once you have created, it's going to be a ballgame. Now, of course, runbooks can be exported, imported, and can be used for different purposes. So if you have created one successful runbook for one particular business unit and you want to make some tweak into it and use it for another ones, go ahead and do that. If you have got your customers whom you provide such services, you can have your own kitty of runbooks, and you make and tweak and make it ready for the next customer, because they're not going to be very, very different technical problems, business challenges. Most of the time they are similar in nature, depending on which industry you come from. So for the same industry, there would be 80% of overlapping challenge. If you have overcome some such challenges for one customer through runbook, you can use the same for the next customer. So let's go ahead and have a look at another scenario. Let me again share my desktop. I'm sure you might have questions, so please hold on and put your questions on the Q&A. I'm sure moderator must be telling you by now. Please don't hold on till the end to put your questions across in the Q&A, because you might forget them at the end. So it's a good idea to put them across. Yeah. What I was thinking is maybe we can think about another scenario, and then I will take you to the demo and we'll spend some time, at one stretch. Another, problem that a lot of people come across who are managing systems through SCCM. I'm taking an example here that one of the biggest issues is that the agent gets corrupted on the user's machine, and then it takes a while for administrators to figure out that there's something wrong, or these many number of systems are not reporting back. So there must be some issue. Now what the issue is, and you need to re-push the agent again, right? Or there's some WMI correction some corruption has happened in the WMI, or there could be something as simple as there needs to be a port check, or admin dollar has some issue. So if the admin dollar has some issue, your SCCM client will not respond back to the server neatly. I'm sure those of you who might have worked on SCCM have faced such problems, because these are operational challenges. I'm not talking about anything fancy today, and I have kept it simple, and I wanted to take it back and relate to operations. But mind it, it's just not about operations. I'm taking these examples because this is something that you might relate to instantly. But Orchestrator is about the complete life cycle in the data center, as I said, right from provisioning to to deployment, to upgradation, to operation, and of course decommission if need be, right? So we'll also look at such an example. So let me connect to my system again. This is my Runbook Designer server. So let's do one thing. Let's have a look at. I have got this SCCM environment. Okay, so I have got a lot of such things. One of those are I want to check the certificate. So if certificate has an issue with the end user machine, that could also be a problem, right? So I've written a run book to go ahead, and again this is my logic, and it is not a very good example of a run book because it has got too many moving parts, right? So it's not an ideal run book because it has got just too many parameters to pass through, and it might take a long time to run this run book, right? So as a best practice, it's a good idea to keep the parameters between 10 to 15. That's all. If they are more than 10 to 15, it's a bad run book, and this is an example of a not so good run book, right? Because it has got a lot of components, and it will take longer on your run book server to run this. Yeah. So okay. So give me a minute. Let me connect. Let me get the right setup here. So I have got again. I've got a run book that I'm going to show it to you. Okay. So the example that we just took of SCCM environment. So let's have a look at one of the systems here, and I'll come back. This is one of the systems. It is running a core box basic stuff, and let's do something very bad here. So let's see. I've got these many net shares, and I want to see that if there's something which gets corrupted on this particular machine, because of which the SCCM client doesn't report back to the server, which normally happens in your environment as well. So what do you do? So what I have done, I have created a runbook that will go ahead and try to fix and remediate the admin share. So I will not do something bad with the admin dollar share. I will rather do something very, very bad with the admin dollar share and go ahead and delete it. Okay. So let's I've actually written it down. So okay. So it's little slow, so bear with me. I will write it again, not a problem. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually delete the admin dollar share. Right. So if I delete the admin dollar share, it is absolutely sure that there's going to be problem. Of course, if admin dollar share is not there, my SCCM clients are not going to report. So what happens in a normal scenario? You might go ahead and figure it out and fix it. What I will do from here is go ahead and this is a runbook that I've created. This runbook is actually going to read all the client list which is giving problem. From where it is going to read it from the collection, right? So I must have a config manager integration pack here, right? So, and then it will, go ahead and do a WMI query and check the admin dollar share. If it is not there, it will repair it. Okay. So let's go ahead and run it in the runbook tester. And this time I'm not going to run through a step through. I will rather go ahead and run it. So what is going to happen? In the meantime, if I go back to that particular machine where I have, if I simply, if I simply go ahead and check the net share now, so it will not have admin dollar. Oh, it has come up. My runbook has completed, it seems. So let me go back and see. Oh yes, it has completed. Yes, so it has just completed. So yeah, maybe we can go back and run it one more time. So I will delete the admin share and do the net share again, and you will see that admin dollar is gone, right? And then I will go ahead and actually I should have, being patient. So I will go ahead and run it again. And of course, once it runs it again, it'll go ahead and repair the admin dollar and make it available once again. So let it finish, and we will go and see the net share again, and admin dollar will be back. And this is one of the very, very small things. As I said, that I'm not trying to show a very, very complicated thing, because complicated things can also be attained. But you can see that admin dollar share is back, right? Lot of interesting things can be attained with Orchestrator, and I have huge run books to show, but I don't want to do that because I'm sure you're getting started with admin Orchestrator. And what I wanted to tell is that even the small things, which something like this, if you have got a run book in place, uh, life can be so much easier, and I'm sure those of you who are working with SCCM day in day out can actually relate back to such a small. So therefore, even if you look at the net backup example that I've taken, or the example that I've just showcased, these are all the small operational things that might take a lot of time and energy of the administrator community. Which time and energy if they just put once and build a run book like it can take care of it automatically. And of course, at the end of the day, your environment is much, much predictable. Your data center has got less red marks here and there because things are working smoothly. And of course, over a period of time, you refine. Many a times customers come back and ask this question, Pracheta, we have just started working with System Center 2012. I don't know how I can best leverage Orchestrator. Get started somewhere. Of course, you're not going to have the best managed environment in the very start. But if you get started and thinking of top 10, operational mundane tasks that takes a lot of my time, Can I go ahead and write a run book for it? Start with that. And then you can go on and upgrade and think of lot of complicated scenarios as well, lot of integration with other components as well. But you can get started with something as simple as this, right? So let's do one more thing. Another example could be looking at the private cloud. Let me show you something. I have got a run book, very basic run book, which is created to take input from the VMM, and if somebody wants to change the request, go ahead and change the update. So if I want to make some upgrade there, I can simply go ahead and upgrade so there's a removing the old owner and adding a new owner. Basics, right? So if there is some ownership change has happened, you can go ahead and make that change, right? So likewise, there could be so many examples that one can go back and look at. So let me show it to you. So just a minute. Let me figure out. As you can see that I'm struggling with so many run books I've got. So it's a very good idea to be cognizant of the fact that over a period of time you're going to deal with so many run books. So create the right set of folders and make sure that you go ahead and run and place them in such a way that just a minute. So this is the one. Actually, I can make use. Let me show it to you. Let's see the settings. Okay. Yeah. So of course I've defined some environment. Okay. So what I will do. So first let me show you something. I have got a VMM environment here, and I have got a virtual machine running. Let's say this is the virtual machine running, and if I want to look at the properties of this virtual machine, I'm actually connecting to a remote setup, so please bear with me while Okay, so even if you look here, let it be, there's no need for me to right click and look at properties. If you look at the information about the VM, it is running, it has got 2 processors, and it says this much memory. If I want to go ahead and change it, I can simply run a run book, or maybe I take an input. So I will take an input and feed it to the run book and go ahead and do that. So if I have to change, let's take an example, just changing the processor for one time, you might want to come to this particular VMM portal and do it. For that, you might not go ahead and create a run book, but on an ongoing basis, you have used Orchestrator for your private cloud deployment, and when people have to upgrade, you simply want to give them a portal. They go and say upgrade VM or change VM settings. It should not come back to you. That is what I'm talking about, right? So as a task, it is not such a big task, but for your self-service user whom you don't want to give direct rights to change the configuration of the VM, you might want to give them a portal through which they can ask for a change or upgrade, right? So let's do one thing. Let's go ahead and execute this. I've actually made some for this quick demonstration purposes, I have made changes to the SQL as the input and made it from two processor to one processor. So let's run it and see if it goes through. So I'm sure that the idea is just not about this runbook or the other runbook, or there are plenty of other ones that I've created. The idea is to give you the perspective that look at the spectrum of things you can do in the data center, look at the spectrum of automation that you can bring to the table and have better efficiency, better use of your time if you're an administrator, better use of your team's time if you're a team manager, making sure that while you have a very, very predictable and auto-corrective data center in place, something goes bad, you have set up environment to take care. I have not shown you a lot of remediation stuff, which is also possible. And the example that I took in the very start, if I have got a monitoring tool, I want to make sure that for a recurring problem that has, for which a lot of my incident gets generated, if my people know, putting the common knowledge into perspective, I would rather create a runbook, and that particular error, whenever it causes, it automatically go ahead and perform 2, 3, 4 tasks and take care of it. And you can also add a tied back to your ticketing tools. If you're using System Center Service Manager for ticketing, or if you're using some other ticketing tool, as per ITIL, as soon as you have a incident gets generated through your alert in your operations manager or other monitoring tool, automatically an incident should be triggered, right? And many a times it is such a big pain to go back and clear lot of multiple duplicate incidents in the tool, because there's some auditing which is going to happen, isn't it? So if you write such an automated workflow in the first go, you can also make sure that not only it remediates the problem, but once the problem gets resolved, it goes ahead and, because it extends to your ticketing tool as well, you can go ahead and mark it as closed. So it actually completes the cycle, right from doing the error correction, remediation, since it can tie back to two other tools as well, right? I took an example of the MBMC remedy, which is one of the most commonly used ticketing tool, or others, or if you're using System Center Service Manager, it goes back and connect the dots and complete and finish that thing for you, not just doing half of the thing. That is the beauty of Orchestrator. It actually helps you to manage things end to end. You just need to know, you have to just hang on in the very start to get a feel of how to get started with it. That's all, right? And please mind, this is your environment. What I have set up is my environment. What logic I have defined is something that makes sense to me. It is absolutely possible that the same conclusion can be drawn by doing not 5 steps but 3 steps, not 3 steps but 7 steps, right? So there are different ways and means and approaches. So there are no good run books or bad run books. The only thing that I wanted to highlight, I have already highlighted, is it's not a good idea to have too many items in one run book, right? If you have a scenario where there is bound to be too many items, that then have the concept of child run book. It's also possible to have one run book have 4 items, and going forward it refers to another child run book. So that is also possible. Go ahead and use that, right? So what has happened? The VM is actually yeah. Let's see. It is giving some problem. Yeah. So we'll go back and see. Let it finish. So you can see the processor has changed from 2 to 1. Yeah. So this is just again a small example. There could be there could be so many other things in your environment where you might want to go ahead and give your users, especially private cloud environment, because this was the example of private cloud. In private cloud, the whole idea of private cloud is to give a self-service portal to your end user or business user or app owners, and give them some ways and means to ask for new environments, new setup, new applications, and having a automated process in place which will make sure that the service delivery happens automatically, or with less interruptions, and the turnaround time is fast. And how will that happen? If you have Orchestrator and other system center component in the backend. So Orchestrator is the backbone of private cloud. And this was just one small example, and you can see that the processor has gone down from 2 to 1 on this particular VM, and it is running. And so this could be a very small thing that you want to give out to your end users, where you don't want intervention. You don't want an email or a phone call saying, hey, Mr. X, please go ahead and change the memory or the processor of my environment. Memory, not memory, but processor, or give me more disk space. So maybe you can define some of the self-service request already created. You don't want them to go ahead and change everything on the fly, but maybe 5 most commonly asked upgrades or changes that are not going to hurt your environment. You might want to give them to your self-service users, right? And like this, Orchestrator will do the changes in the backend, and you don't need to worry about it. You just need to maybe run some reports at the end of the week, seeing that how much resource have been consumed, etc. And then let the right people know that what your cloud is using so much, and so on, right? So all those things are possible. Let's go back and connect to my deck again. Yeah. So what all we have seen so far is different use cases. There are different use cases. Likewise, there could be certificate management, which means that sometimes what happens, again, another real-time operational issue that people face is that if you have given out a machine to your end user, and SCCM manages end user machines as well, right? So if in case some power users who have got administrative privileges, or developers who need to have administrative privileges, they change the machine name. What happens if the machine name changes, the kind certificate mismatch happens? And again, it's a cumbersome process. You will have problems in the certificate management. You would not get to know that whether this certificate is valid or the other one is valid. So how do you take care of it? Again, Orchestrator could be a great tool. And again, I have one runbook, which I'm not going to bore you with, because I'm sure you have got an idea of what exactly runbook stands for, how you get started with it, right? So I could have shown you that, but what are the opportunities? And this is where I would like to take couple of minutes, and then maybe we will open for questions. Is that the opportunities where Orchestrator could be a absolute fit is one, operations automation or ops automation, of which we have seen a couple of examples. System integration, yes, of course, right? You've seen a great example of system integration in VMM integration, right? Cloud transformation, if you are looking at keeping a private cloud and a public cloud, so we have an Azure integration pack. So if you want to, let's take an example, I want to give end user an option to either set up, let's take an example, you have got a testing environment or development environment, and you have given out a self-service portal, and you want to give the users to pick the choice whether they want to have their environment on the premise or they want to have it in the Azure. Again, not going to happen in every environment. I'm just taking an example. It's possible. Or if you want to, let's take an example, you're not giving it to end users. As administrators, your organization has invested into Azure, and you have got some capacity built up there with infrastructure as a service available now on Azure. It is absolutely possible to use it as an extension of a data center. You can have the similar IP subnets being extended. So a lot of things. So, in case there is a capacity burst or there is something new which has come up and you don't have capacity on premise, so rather than building procuring new servers, you rather build that testing environment in the cloud, on the Azure. And this particular tool is going to help you a lot in making that integration seamless, right? So Azure integration pack is there. I just showed you that there is a Twitter integration pack. Now, again, could be a small, stupid thing to look at, but yeah, let's take an example. I'm a very next Gen Y administrator and I want to, just simply get a tweet at the end of the day telling me some number. I'm not going to divulge into what exactly this means because it's a public forum, but I might want to just get to know that the set of servers that I'm managing a subset of it. How many of them are running some service, whatever. It could be any small thing that I want rather to have an email sent to me or a long report. Simply send me the number. I know what it represents. It's also possible, right? It can take an input from Twitter as well, right? It can integrate to Yammer. So the idea is that whatever it takes to build a next generation modern data center, Orchestrator is going to take you a long way, in the journey. Of course, it helps you in migration, in heterogeneity. I started with showing you a net backup environment, and Microsoft has taken a very, very conscious decision, has been very open to third-party solutions and systems. So we appreciate the fact and we acknowledge the fact that data centers are going to host multiple vendors, multiple solutions. So if there is a data center management tool which is going to provide automation, it should not be only restricted to Microsoft. Hence, you have seen there are multiple integration packs available, and it only grows in time, right? As customers like you come back and ask vendors that, why don't you have an integration pack for Orchestrator? It makes my life so easy. Only you are the one in my data center who's left out. Rest everything talks to my Orchestrator, hence I can do a lot of improvisation. Please create an integration pack and you will see that happening, right? It's all based upon customers' demand that organizations come together and bring these things. Okay, so it's very much possible to bring a very, very integrated and create a modern data center of your own, right? So we started with this, and I wanted to, again go back and show that what we started with. The objective was to tell you that how Orchestrator can help you in building a modern data center and have a business case through integration and automation. So for those of you who might be looking at from a decision-making perspective, I'm sure you might have got an idea on how it can help in building better operational efficiency, resilient environment, productive environment, and of course, very, very predictable. For those of you who are techies in the audience, I'm sure you might have got an idea of what Orchestrator infrastructure is all about, how you build the architecture, and what are the basic building blocks to have Orchestrator set up and running, and how, in some of the use cases that I have took to give you an idea. Again, an idea. I have just scratched the surface in the given time because I did not want to overdose you or over bombard with a lot of examples. I'm sure 3-4 examples that we have taken have given you some idea and just some thoughts to look back in your environment and see that where Orchestrator will fit in. And I'm sure it will fit into a lot of scenarios, right? I will take questions in just a minute. And last but definitely not the least, if you have not yet started working on System Center, it's high time go ahead and enroll for the evaluation. So these are some small, short URLs, or you can always search System Center 2012 SP1 evaluation, server evaluation, etc. And we do a lot of ongoing trainings and a lot of ongoing upgradation on whatever is available on infrastructure and development side on net. So there's something called as Microsoft Virtual Academy in case you are a professional, you don't have time for, of course, full day trainings. MBA is the way to go. So go ahead and leverage these, some of the automatically available resources from Microsoft, which will help you to enrich your careers. I'm sure you'll be benefited. With that, my presentation comes to an end.